Next one is mental strength, the M in prime. And this is the one I want to talk about, right? Because I want to have mental strength,
I love
mental
this.
strength.
The mental strength aspect, I think, is a really important one that often tends to be overlooked or not looked at all in the context of teams, certainly, and with regard to resilience. And so here's really where I was fortunate to do my training in this area at the University of Pennsylvania, because the folks there, the mental strength, sort of how we think, the cognitive aspects of the trait of resilience are sort of front and center within the model that Penn developed. And so it's been enormously impactful for me in my own burnout recovery. This has really been probably the big entry point, the biggest area that I've had to practice and deal with, but with the biggest positive outcomes once I did. Understanding my thinking, how I think under stress and pressure, and realizing, wow, I catastrophize a lot. I, think in worst case scenario terms a lot. And it doesn't help that I was a lawyer and I'm easily able to do that. And I was trained to do that anyway, and it doesn't help. And wow, am I an overthinker, and I can stew about things for a long time. And then, interesting research showing at the group level, as a group, as a team, we have to cultivate the belief that we're capable, that we can overcome challenges and obstacles together. And when we don't do that, it doesn't do good things for our teams. And so there's lots of individual and group sort of ways that we can examine our thought process and our thinking to leverage going in a different and more resilient and better direction. It's one of my favorite pieces of the puzzle.
So I thought that the connection between efficacy, which is not such a common word, but I thought the connection between efficacy and confidence was helpful. In other words, if we want to overcome burnout, the team has to be confident or believe certain things. What does a team have to believe to overcome, or protect against burnout?
Yeah, I think it's really, if you think about the life cycle of a challenge, when a team is presented with an obstacle and a challenge, resilient teams tackle challenges very quickly. So I think right out of the gate, you have to have cultivated the belief that you can tackle whatever challenge is presented to you, because if you don't have that to begin with, it's going to be so much more effortful. And I think the team, you're more likely to see the team fracture a little bit and lose some of the cohesion if they're not all bought into the idea that we can do this. And so there's a
so help me get to that. Would you help me get to, how do we develop this sense of can do?
Yes. And the cool thing I love about it is there's a process for this. So the first thing that you have to do, either individually or collectively as a team, is figure out what is the thing that we need to get better at, right? If we don't feel like we're able to jump on challenges quickly, what aspect of that process are we missing? What do we need to improve? So you have to be able to identify a pretty specific behavior around that. So maybe it's your communication, right? We realize we don't have the communication skills that we need within our team, and boil that down even as specific as you can, and then set a goal around that. How do you specifically want to improve communication? What does that look like? And then the research will tell you, if we want that confidence mindset, there's 3 different ways that we can go about building it. And the best way is to actually do it, to practice the thing, right? So we want to get better at communicating as a group. We got to start, and we got to, build in some structure and some new ways of communicating and actually do it and try it out and see what happens. It's interesting, and I'm presenting this as sort of a simple process, but it's not, because if you don't have psychological safety, if you don't have trust at the team level, this piece is going to be hard to do. So it plays on each other. And then the other thing that teams can do is they can ask for feedback. They can look to a trusted and respected source, potentially. That could be their leader, that could be an outside, influencer on the team, to give them some tips and some pointers and some help. They can look at other teams and observe, like, wow, that team in that division seems to have it together, and every time there's a problem, they're on it. And what are we missing? What do they have that we don't have? They can ask questions of other team members. The 2 leaders can talk to get some ideas. And so there's different entry points that the research will say you can do to kind of start to build that capacity.